I love granny squares, really love granny squares, whether it's your classic granny squares that your granny used to make in the 70s or complex, colourful modern designs. I love them all and I love making projects with them, including this sampler blanket that I made using 49 different square patterns, and most of those patterns were free ones that I found online. So in this video, I'm going to take you through my top 10 free crochet square patterns, and I'll link all of them down in the description as well. In at number 10 is the Victor Square. This pattern is available on the website everytrickonthehook.com. It's a blog post with plenty of photos. The designer, Polly Plum, she has some beautiful free crochet square patterns up on her website. Go check it out, honestly, some of them are beautiful. I used quite a few in this blanket, but I want to celebrate as many designers as I possibly can in this video, so I'm only including one pattern per designer. That's my rule. So the reason why I chose the Victor Square out of all of her beautiful designs is I think it's quite different to some of the other squares that I've made. The texture of these front and back post stitches are lovely and it makes sort of this wavy square pattern. This does look stunning in multiple colours as well, but I only use one colour per square in my blanket, as you can see. So yeah, I would probably say this pattern is improver to intermediate level. There are plenty of photos, but there is no video. So if you can only crochet from videos, her designs won't be for you. However, my perspective on whether a pattern is easy or difficult is probably quite different to yours. It's been a long time since I was a beginner, so take my ratings with a pinch of salt, and I encourage you to just pick up your hook and try some of these patterns, because you won't know if it's too much for you until you have a go. So let's move on to number 9. Number 9 is the Crown Jewel Square by Melinda Miller, and I'm sorry this is another boring brown square. So yeah, the Crown Jewel Square by Melinda Miller. Melinda Miller, she is a prolific crochet square designer. She has over 100 crochet square patterns that you can download on Ravelry, and they are patterns, there aren't tutorials. I don't even think there are any photos to go along with these patterns, so that's why I'd probably say it was an intermediate level pattern. However, this is not the first time I've crocheted this square. So my second ever crochet project was a blanket, and it was a sampler blanket, and it was for a crochet along that was running on Ravelry called Block a Month. I believe it's still running, so every month you have 2 blocks that you crochet, and at the end of the year you have a sampler blanket. And this was one of the squares for one of the months in 2011. I think it was 2011. So I remembered this square. This was my favourite square for my first sampler blanket, so I knew I had to include this square. In at number 8 is the Mum's the Word Square by April Morland. This is a free PDF download written pattern again, with no photos or videos, I believe. April Morland, she also has a lot of free square patterns on Ravelry, and I do think I've made this square before in the previous blanket, but I'm not 100% on that. So I'd probably say this pattern was an improver to intermediate level pattern. It was really enjoyable. Cluster stitches are one of my favourite stitches, along with popcorn stitches. So yeah, maybe check out April Morland over on Ravelry. In at number 7 is Maggie Square by Drew Emborski. I chose this pattern because, again, it's another square that I've crocheted before and really enjoyed. It's a really simple design made with just single crochets and double crochets, and you sort of work the stitches out of order to get that textured lacy effect there. This pattern is a blog post with no photos, but it's a pretty simple pattern to follow. So I would say, as long as you can read patterns, it's definitely approachable as a beginner. In at number 6 is the Quatrefoil Rosette Square by Lisa Mauser. This is a complex textured square, so I'd probably say that this is quite a challenging pattern, but it does have plenty of photos to help you out. I'd say intermediate to advanced level, and she has some even more complicated designs over on her website. So if you're an advanced crocheter looking for a challenge, check her out. I'll link her down in the description. This square looks really beautiful in multiple colours, and I actually quite enjoyed making it because we've got popcorns, we've got puffs, we've got front and back post stitches, and lots of texture. So I did really enjoy making this square. I did have one issue and one bit of advice for this square is, can you see the sides pull in ever so slightly? So I'd recommend either going up a hook size or maybe adding an extra yarn over it when you're doing these front post stitches here, just to stop that square from pulling in so much. But of course you could block it as well. I posted this blanket a lot on social media, and one of the most requested patterns in the comments is the pattern I've chosen for number 5 of this list, and that is Spiro Star by Helen Shrimpton. Now this square is made using front and back post stitches to make this star shape and these petals. And although it does look lovely in one colour, I have made another one in multiple colours just for this video to show you how beautiful this square actually is. No judging, I've got lots of ends and it needs blocking, but look at it. How beautiful is that square? So these petals are made using back post stitches and the star is made using front post stitches. But look at it, it's so beautiful. And this is the first pattern on this list with a video tutorial. So if you're looking for a square to try and you only use video tutorials, check out Spiro Star by Helen Shrimpton. She also has plenty of other square designs for you to get your teeth into. In fourth place is Esther Square by Chris Simon. I would probably say this after Maggie's. Maggie's square is probably the easiest square on this list, but after that this is probably the next easiest square. I would label it beginner friendly, however again it is a written pattern only, so it depends if you can read written patterns. It's a really simple technique of working lots of double crochets to make a shell into some chain spaces. I really love this square and I think this would work really well as one big square to make a blanket, but I have a lot of projects to do so that will probably never materialise. So yeah, this is Esther Square by Chris Simon, and I love that she's called it Esther Square, and Esther was her grandmother who taught her how to crochet, and I do love a really good story behind a crochet pattern. So yeah, if you're fairly new to crochet and you want some practice pattern reading, have a go at Esther's Square. So the pattern that's in third place, I am going to completely butcher this pronunciation, but it is the Ilmatar Square by Sari Åström. I'm so sorry if I've mispronounced that. If anyone from Finland comes at me in the comments, I apologise. So yeah, the Ilmatar Square, it's beautiful. I mean, look at that flower surrounded by the cluster stitches, that circle, it's almost like a framed flower. It is super beautiful, this square. She is such a talented designer. So this pattern is a written pattern on a blog with plenty of photos, and there is an accompanying video for this pattern. However, there is no audio whatsoever. It is just a demonstration of how to make this square. So if you can sort of follow a pattern but you need a bit of extra support, maybe this one is for you, because you've got a written pattern, you've got photos, and there's a video. So maybe give the Ilmatar Square a try. So the pattern in second place, I didn't actually end up using my blanket. I cut that colour from the colour palette quite late on and frogged it. However, I have whipped up another one to show you, and I really love this square and I wish I had included it in my blanket. If I could go back, I would add it back into the blanket. So this is the Duckbill Dalliance Square by Margaret McInnes. This is a written pattern only again, and if you can see, it's made up of lots of puff stitches. We've got puff stitches making this flower in the middle, and then these puff stitches go out into points to make sort of a star shape. I hope this comes across well on camera. So yeah, I really do love this square. I would probably say, because it's a lot of puff stitches, you need to have really good control of your tension to make a nice, neat, uniform puff stitch. So I find them one of the trickier crochet stitches, especially when you're still learning how to control your tension in crochet. So I'd probably rate this as an intermediate level pattern. Again, it's only a written pattern as well, but if you're up to it, definitely give this one a go, because it is so enjoyable to make and the finished result is really stunning. So it's time for my absolute favourite square that I made for this blanket. It sits at the very centre of my blanket and it seems to be everybody else's favourite square when I ask them. So yeah, this is the Felicitas Afghan Square by Diana Krenz. How stunning is this square? The lace, the overlapping petals, the popcorns, the picot stitches, the clusters. Oh, it is just a beautiful square, and she is a genius to come up with this pattern. I would not be able to design this pattern. It is really beautiful, and the construction of it is really interesting as well to get those overlapping petals. The first time I made this, I found it quite tricky to make. I don't know if I was having a bad day, because I recently made it again so I could show you it in multiple colours, and let me tell you, I like it even more in multiple colours than I did it in solid. Look how pretty that square is. The colours show off the overlapping petals so well. So this pattern is called Felicitas, And my friend who speaks lots of languages, she says it means happiness. I can't remember what language it was, but it means happiness. And that is honestly how I feel when I see this square. It makes me smile because I love it so much. So let me know in the comments if this was your favourite square as well, or if you preferred one of the other ones on this list, or maybe your favourite square isn't even on this list. Let me know down in the comments because I'm always after new crochet patterns. And if you want to find out a little bit more about how to make your own sampler blanket, check out the tutorial that's on your screen now.